Hi there, and welcome to Position 1 Power Equipment. My name's Adrian, and today we're going to be changing the carburetor on this P6220 chainsaw. So I've already removed the bar and chain. I'm just going to take the brake cover off, just to get the brake handle out of my way. Okay. So to get to the carburetor, underneath the top cover. So I'll just remove the top cover. Which will expose the air filter. And I'll remove the air filter. So next we're going to remove the entire top orange cover to give ourselves a bit more room. So holding the top cover on, there are 5 bolts. One here and here, 2 inside here, and another 5th one at the front here. So we'll undo the 5 bolts. I could just take them completely out. I'm taking care not to drop them inside the carburetor, these ones in here. Nearly out. Okay, they're the ones I didn't want to drop. So that's 3. That's the 4th. And number 5 here. That's why I took the brake cover off. It makes it easier to get to this one. And that's the 5th one. Okay. So I'll just pop the spark plug off. I'll pull back the dust cover and just pull the spark plug off. And that will now allow me to remove the orange cover from the top completely. Okay, so that gives me much better access now to the carburetor. So you'll see there are 2 bolts here which are actually holding the carburetor on. One here and one here. We're going to undo these 2 bolts. Again, it's the same Allen key. Okay, that's the first one. I can pull that completely out. Same with the second one. And I'll pull that completely out. That's the 2 of them. So you'll notice on the choke lever here, the little rubber grommet. The choke lever will come out from the side of the carburetor and it hooks into a small hole. I'll try and demonstrate that for you and get a shot of it. So that would be back in again. And the little rib in the rubber grommet sits in that gap there. So I'll bring you around to the side and show you me undoing the choke lever. So you can see the little hook on the end of the choke lever. I'll lift the lever up and just move the choke lever around, and that's the choke lever removed. So we'll put that to one side. So I can move on now to removing this top piece, which is the air filter holder. It's got this rubber plate on, so make sure you don't lose that. So that's that piece removed, and that's given us quite a lot of access to the carburetor now. So we're going to need to remove these 2 pipes, this one here and this one here. So that's going to be the next job. So just a long nose pliers, I can just get in there and just tease that top pipe off. The same with the one on the side. Should be able to just tease the pipe off the end without pulling on it too harshly. There we are. A little bit of fuel there. So I'll just pull that cable from on top of there. Now the final thing holding the carburetor in place is going to be the throttle. I'll bring you around the side and show you the throttle. So you'll see the little metal bar here in the bottom. Obviously if I pull the throttle, you'll see with the carb not attached, it's pushing the carburettor. So I can just ease the carburettor out, and I'll just disconnect that little throttle lever by turning it around. Hold on, can't quite get the angle. There we go. And there's one final pipe, which is this clear plastic one here. Bring that into shot, this one. So again, I'll just tease that off. There we go. That's the carburettor removed. So what you will find, and it does happen 9 times out of 10, that the throttle bracket comes disattached or unattached from the handle. The throttle pulling arm here comes unattached from the throttle when you take the carb out. So we'll need to hook it back on at the other end when we've put it back together. So you'll see the heat shield gasket here and this plastic insulator, and it's got an O-ring in it which seals against the carb. That's all in good condition, but all these parts are available if you've got any damage. So we're going to put the carburettor back on now. So I'm going to do an exact reverse procedure. I'm going to put that lower plastic pipe back on to that outlet there. I'm going to put the throttle bracket back in. So this is into this rear one here. Okay, that's in. And back down. I can put this pipe back on. They should just push firmly into position, and exactly the same with the top pipe. So it's a little bit fiddly, we're working in a small area here. I'm just going to put that back in its approximate position there. I'm going to take the choke lever, put that back in. Okay, just to hold it roughly in position. Making sure everything's clean here. Back on with the little manifold, and then back in finally with the 2 screws. I'm just having to line up these screws with the holes as I put them in. Just hold it roughly where it's got to go. Just start 1 screw at a time. That's that one in. I'll just lift this back up, just keeping out of the way of that fuel pipe, through the carburettor into its position on the head. Just tighten that screw up. I'll try and bring them in evenly. We're not disturbing anything, making sure we're not trapping any wires or cables. Okay, we're nearly there now. That's that one tightened. Don't have to tighten these up ridiculously tight. That's the second one tightened. I'm just going to pop the plug cap back on there for a second. We're going to have to reattach the throttle. Hold on, let's just put the choke back in its position. Okay, as you can see, the throttle isn't working. It's come unattached at this end, and you can tell that because this throttle lever, can you see it? No, not quite. You can see that the throttle lever is now hanging down where it shouldn't be, and the throttle isn't working at all. So we need to just disassemble this slightly to get to the other end to hook it back in. So I'm just going to turn the unit over, and we're going to remove these 2 screws, this one and this one, and that allows us to get this orange trim off. So I've just unscrewed the 2 screws from the bottom of here, and the next thing I need to do, you'll see a very small pin that passes through the grey plastic here. If I take something like a small screwdriver, like a little jeweler's screwdriver, and give that pin just a little push, it starts to come out. I can grab it with the long nose pliers and pull that pin, that little pin, completely out. So that now allows me to remove the orange plastic piece altogether. So the upper locking handle now has sprung up, but that's fine. We'll pull it back out of the way. Now we can see here, let me just hold it with the pliers. This is the little throttle actuating bar, and it pushes forward to actuate the throttle and backwards when you release the throttle. And if I pull the trigger, that little bar is meant to go through the hole in the top of here. So if I twist it and turn it clockwise, just to get it in roughly the right position, I just need to hold it with my long nose pliers. There we are. I'll just use the screwdriver in behind. There we are. I popped it back in the hole and the throttle's now working. Okay, that's good. So I'll just push the top lever back down now, making sure the little spring is inside it, and it should stay there. Back over the top with the orange plastic cover, pushing it back in at the front. This upper handle pops out. Let's check the trigger actuation again. I can't pull the trigger, push down, trigger's working, that's great. So back in with the pin now. It'll push so far. You may need to give it a little tap. There we are, back in flush. That's the front held. Back in with the two little screws in the bottom. Say it looks daunting when you see the trigger apart, but it's a very simple little job to do. Okay, that's those done. I'll check the throttle once more. That's working fine. My choke lever's popped off. I'll just pop that choke lever back in position. Again, this can be fiddly, or it can go straight in. There we go, it's gone in. Put the grommet back in the right place. There we are. We're now ready to refit the top cover. So before we fit the top cover, this little grommet, which fits in the top cover, always drops out when you take it apart. So I'll just pop that back in its little hole first. There we are. Now we're ready to refit the top cover. So just make sure I don't trap the HT lead. I'll just push it back into position. You'll see a gasket here. That gasket goes this side of the orange cover. And I just need to check that I've got the cable for the HT lead passing through a little slot down in here, which I have. I'll just put the cap back on temporarily. Okay, make sure that grommet's sat in place. It is, and I'll just get one screw back in just to stop that cable coming out again. I think I'm quite lined up, am I? Yes, I am. So all these screws are exactly the same, the 5 screws we took out. I'll just get them all started. That's 2. That's the 3rd one. Not quite. Yep, there we are. That's the 4th. One at the front. Yep, that's started. Okay. So I now can tighten down all of the screws to complete putting on the top cover. So I'll just put the little dust cover back on in the correct place around the spark plug. There we are. Make sure it's completely home. Yep, that's that done. Back on with the air filter. Back on with the top cover, inserting it from the top first. Push it down. and back in with a little knob. And there we are. That's the carburetor changed and the throttle linkage fixed. I'm not going to put the bar back on at this stage with bar and chain. I'll just pop my brake cover back on. Just for safekeeping, so I don't lose any of the nuts until I'm ready to use it again. And that's it, job done. So the tools I've used for this are the Allen key that's supplied, a crosshead screwdriver, a small jeweler's screwdriver, and a pair of long nose pliers. Well, here we are, that's the carburetor changed and the throttle reattached. I do hope you found this demonstration useful. For more information on this or any of our other products, visit www.p1pe.co.uk. I've been Adrian, and thank you for watching.